or I can use a background. There we go.
Like, recording. Apparently, because Ramon is into all of this, like podcasting and stuff. He's like, "Oh, it's best if you're both on the screen." I was like, "Yeah, we are," but then when it comes up in the recording, we're not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was like, he sent me like a um. How do we do it? Add-ons, tools. Wait there, let me see what he's saying. I should have probably done this before, but I was too busy trying to get late to sleep.
Understandable.
He literally watched the last minute of the game with me, and I said, "Right, I'm going to make a cup of tea, then I'm coming back and I'll be on my laptop because I'm going to talk to Ainsley." He's like, "Okay." Came back in the room, he was asleep. I was like, "Yes."
Let's have
But
a
bear in
look. So yeah, a little bit more so my face isn't half in shadow. What I wanted to have initially, I've got a lamp, like all the YouTube influencers have like
they
this
have
ring
the
light. Well, I
yeah.
just have a desk lamp because I'm from the 90s.
Yeah.
So I was going to do that. But I thought having a lamp shining directly in my face for this entire thing, and I'm just going to be like squinting like this through the whole thing, is probably not the best idea.
Oh, okay. So change to tile view before you start recording. How do I do that? Tile view. Um, Click the three dots. Okay.
Tile view. Are we going to be like mosaic?
Adjust view. Tiled. Okay. Select change layout. Choose tiled. Tile view. Adjust the slider to display the maximum number. If there are only two of you, cameras should appear. But right, and now if we share something, let me share my screen. Because that's the issue. Because when we share the screen, it shows the screen and the person who's talking,
Mm.
but not the person who's listening. But I mean, to be honest, I think that's a small thing. But Ramon's like, oh, when you're doing a podcast, both you should be able to see both people. So all right.
I liked the one we did last time where because it showed us both and the screen on the thing at the same time. I think it did work quite well.
Did it show that in the recording?
Yes.
Okay, it did. That's not the right image. Where's the image? There we go. The thing is, I know now I can what's it called? How do I escape this? I can what's the word? I can edit and like overlay afterwards. Uh, okay,
Oh, there we are.
there we go. Let's see. Now let's see how tiled view. Okay, now it should um don't share your window and because it will just go on forever. Uh, okay, it seems to be okay. I think. Can you see my screen or just the?
I can see everything. I've got me and you and the chart of incredible through to awful teams.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we can start chatting, can't we? This is the start of our. Let me put a background on. Put a background. There we go.
Excellent. I have a background of World Cup memories past of the greatest free kick never taken.
The great Zaire free kick.
Well,
Um,
they have redeemed themselves. The Democratic Republic of Congo. It's like they've gone back, changed shirts, rebranded, come back, and made a hit.
Yeah, or Dr. Congo, as they are quite commonly known.
My mother refers to them as Dr. Congo.
Dr. Congo. I guess they're a good place to start, even though they're right in the middle of our board. But
It's
good
fresh,
old,
it's recent. We've just had the game the other day.
yeah, good old Dr. Congo. I mean, I think like I've kind of given up on our predictions because this World Cup seems to be quite unpredictable already, which is good. I really like that. I'm quite enjoying the unpredictability of it. You've got a team that wins 5-1 one day and then loses 5-1 the next, which is pretty cool.
Everything balances out, I suppose.
Yeah, so I think rather than review our own predictions, because that's like sniffing your own farts, I think it's probably probably more appropriate. We just adjust and go through our own opinions of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, a lot has happened. Straight off the bat, I wanted to ask you, what's the most surprising thing you've seen so far in this World Cup?
Um, Alanis Morissette singing the national anthem for Canada was quite surprising. Also, Ciara bringing out the match ball was a little bit random. On the pitch, I tell you what, I have enjoyed some great volleys,
Yes.
some fantastic volleys. There's Canadian guy scored a great volley, Jonathan David. The best one though was I think I've seen every single minute of every single game. So apologise if I get some of my memories mixed up. But I think it was Uzbekistan when they scored, and it was a volley, and it was like really really powerful volley. It was either Uzbekistan or one of the teams that lost, but their consolation goal was like an amazing goal. Also, what we saw last night or the early hours this morning, Paraguay's Almiron getting sent off for doing this.
I've just been
Ainsley,
discussing that
Ainsley,
today.
you dirty English bastard. I didn't say anything. Didn't say anything.
You should definitely watch our podcast of World Cup predictions. A red card, ref.
I was on Instagram earlier, and the caption was "scariest red card ever in World Cup history."
It's all to do with this whole Benfica business that happened earlier in the year with the Champions League, and so I don't know what Almiron said, or if indeed he said. Maybe he literally just forgot because it's the first time this rule's ever been affected. But no one will forget it now.
I know. And the funny thing was, he tried to play it off. You saw him do this and then go, like, as if he was like cleaning his nose. But I think he knew as soon as he did it. Fuck. But and it's funny because it was what they told the players to do during COVID. So if you remember, the reason they started doing that was because COVID. They wanted them to cover their mouths when they speak to the referee or other players.
Yeah, we're in different times, man.
Yeah, I'd never seen that before, and then all of a sudden you've got players covering their mouths. Like, and now if you cover your mouth, it's a red card.
Yes, it's all this strange business earlier in the year with Vinicius Junior and the election racism. For me, the craziest thing that's happened so far is Tunisia sacking their coach after a single game.
Yeah, that was. And do you know who they've appointed?
Yeah,
Hervé Renard, who is the famous. This is the World Cup. Fucking care. You are not out of this. The Saudi manager. Maybe he can create an amazing comeback with Tunisia. I mean, I doubt it because, as you can see from our tier system, they are awful. But
Tunisia have got to come and make amends tonight. They play in the next round of games. Yeah. So this is the make or break for them. The thing is, we've discussed was that a lot of teams that built their brand on defense during qualifying haven't really done a great deal this week. Like Paraguay, I know they won their last game, but they got hammered in their opening. Tunisia didn't let in a single goal. during their entire 10 team, and then chip 5 in the first one. So defensive, and also South American teams, which everybody bigs up because of the humidity and the fact that they're able to cope with it. It took a long time before we had a South American victory. I know, obviously, Colombia, Argentina, and Brazil have all won since then, but Brazil tied their opening game, and Uruguay tied their opening game, and Paraguay lost their opening game, and it looked for a while like there wasn't really going to be any South American victories in the first round.
Yeah, it's because equally we thought that the Asian teams would struggle, but then we went through the first 5 days without an Asian team getting beaten.
Yeah.
But again, that's started to balance out a bit now with Iraq, Jordan, and Uzbekistan all losing, and even Korea losing to Mexico. So
I thought they were slightly hard done by Korea. I know it's a downfall of their own making, but the goalkeeper literally just threw it to the forward in front of goal.
it was such a bad mistake. And it was like there was nobody else around. It was, and you could see when they did it, they were just like, "Oh, what have we done?"
Yeah.
But I mean, I think like I made this grid because I see these tier things on Instagram and stuff quite a lot, and it's probably a good way to sort of talk through it rather than looking at the groups or looking at the results. It's just like a, very opinion based, and that's what we wanted to talk about, really. I mean, Qatar, we knew Qatar would be
we called Qatar. You and I both written down Qatar are dreadful on our notepads before we even spoke to each other.
Yeah, I mean, but they did have one of the moments of the tournament, I guess, with that late goal against Switzerland. So
yeah,
they didn't deserve it. But although yeah, you say a team doesn't deserve it. Now, one thing you always have to appreciate is a goalkeeper is part of a team. So if a team's goalkeeper saves them, that is, you might they deserved a point based on their goalkeeper's performance, I thought, against Switzerland. Young goalkeeper, they said it was a risk to pick him, and he had a fantastic game. And his heroics led to an equaliser late in the game. So I think they deserved that moment.
I think they deserved it purely because I feel like Switzerland didn't have any ruthless edge to them. They scored a penalty, which a lot of people were still complaining it was offside, even after VAR checked it. But they would get themselves into maybe the final third, and then it would slow down to a crawl. And as an England fan, I've seen England do this many times down the years, where they would just get somewhere and then just retreat back again. And they did it so many times. I was thinking there must be a quicker way to die than watching this football match until Qatar equalised and actually made it worthwhile.
Yeah. But I don't think there's been too many of those moments so far. I think Korea had a really amazing comeback in their first game.
Yes.
That was quite a fun one to watch.
Right.
But I can't think of many other. I mean, Japan, Netherlands. That was a good comeback game.
That's a very good game.
But it doesn't mean that there hasn't been bad games. I've enjoyed. To be honest, I quite enjoyed the game today, Paraguay versus Turkey, because it had a bit of an edge. There was, both teams were quite aggressive.
They both needed a win.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some really, really terrible games. I mean, Ghana versus Panama. That's as much as I'm going to say. It was awful. Senegal, France, to be honest, it wasn't that good a game. I thought it was like France won, but there wasn't much going for that game.
I don't think it was. You might feel it's not that competitive a game, but I think bearing in mind that Senegal are the African champions, although the Court of Arbitration disagrees, they won it on the pitch. France had to spend a long time to break them down. And I think that was the thing. It was French superiority in the end because they have so much depth to call upon. And it was the day when all the superstars came out because Mbappe scored and Messi scored and Haaland scored. And so it was like all the megastars showed why they were top dogs. So it wasn't that competitive as a neutral, but I thought France showed why they are deserved maybe favourites in the entire tournament. And then we had Iran, New Zealand, which, other than England versus Croatia, for obvious reasons, I think Iran, New Zealand was my favourite game of the tournament so far. I thought it was fabulous.
Game across a period of 6 hours, because what I've been doing is I've been watching the games at night, because I know the time difference is a little bit different. So the games here are like maybe 9 p.m, 11 p.m, midnight. Anything beyond that, it's just too late to watch. So what I'm doing is I'm waking up the next day, but I'm watching the full match, but I'm having to watch them in order, because if I watch, say, the 8 a.m. kickoff when I wake up, they might give away the results to the 5 a.m. and the 2 a.m. games. So I'm having to watch the games in order and not look at my phone, not look at social media, because obviously all my algorithms are World Cup related. So
yes,
I've had two spoilers. One was my bloody search engine, Bing. I pulled up Bing and it showed me a result. I think it was which game was it that it gave me? I think the Jordan game or the Iraq game, and I was like, wonderful, thanks for that. And then the other one was Suha was searching for Scottish footballers, and as she was doing it on her phone, it showed the Scotland-Haiti score, and I was like, okay. So trying to avoid the scores is a little bit difficult, but we're getting there.
I kind of feel like it's your own fault for being the only person in the world who still uses Bing as a search engine.
I've tried. I've gone in the settings and tried to change it to Google, and it still comes up as Bing. I'm telling you, I'm cursed. I hate Bing. It's the worst thing. Sorry, Bing, if this goes on YouTube. But your search engine's terrible.
By Google, you're fine.
Yeah. Google, YouTube will put this one through. No copyright issues with this. Turkey, what a build-up, and then what a failure.
I'm looking forward to the next tournament where they're dark horses yet again and fall absolutely flat. It's like the third tournament in a row where they turn up with a 700 million euro squad and do nothing.
So bad. If you can't score against a 10-man Paraguay, then see you later, guys. Off you go. Tunisia, yeah. Well, after what we saw today with Sweden, maybe Tunisia are going to lose 10 against Netherlands.
Well, this is the thing. We're hoping it's the unpredictability factor that when they play Japan, that maybe the real Tunisia come out with a new coach. But it's a madness to have a new coach and only have several days to prepare, having got tanked 5-1. Like, I wish them well, but you may be right. This could be double figures if the trend is...
Yeah, I worry for them. And Algeria, oh my God, have you ever seen a goalkeeper that's been more scared of a football?
I don't think this goalkeeper has ever played the sport of football before in his entire life. I think his hands were made of Weetabix. Because
do you know who his dad is?
Do say
Zinedine Zidane.
Oh yes, oh of course it is. Which shows why Zidane was never a goalkeeper and instead one of the greatest midfielders of all time.
Yeah. That guy would only get into a team because of his name. I was saying to Ramon earlier, he could be playing in Division 3 in UAE with me. Like, I could play Division 3 UAE. This guy probably, that's where he belongs. But because his dad is Zinedine Zidane, he's in the team. It's so bad. I would love
to know how poor the sub goalie for Algeria is, because their main goalkeeper was horrendous. With the greatest of respects, I know Lionel Messi scored a hat trick, and that's all everyone was raving about. But when I watched when you watched the match and you saw the goals, you thought, like, Mbappe would have had 6.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair to Algeria, they must have really enjoyed watching the amount of space they gave to Lionel Messi.
Oh yes,
like, they must have really enjoyed giving him 30 yards worth of space outside of the box. Like, it was fantastic for them to watch, but for the rest of us, it was like...
I'm convinced there were supporters closer to Lionel Messi than the Algerian defenders.
The only person closer to Lionel Messi was Rui de Paul, whatever he's...
But there was an incident, of course, where Messi appeared to rake down the calf of one of the Algerian players. There's been a big furore about should it have been a red. As a qualified referee, what is your opinion of the incident?
He was on like you know my opinions on Messi. I don't really like Messi as much as the world does. I think he's anyway. All that aside, I wouldn't have given it as a red card. I think when you look at it in a still frame or you look at it in a slow mo, the tackle was like high, but he wasn't off his feet, which was one. And it wasn't like a forceful impact. It was more like he's just sort of gone for the ball and just grazed the back. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a red card challenge. Those challenges are when people stamp down on the back of the leg with the stud showing. This was more like a graze of the stud. You know what I mean? It wasn't a red card challenge. So no, as a qualified referee, no red card for me. Also,
I agree. I think still images make it look a lot worse.
Yeah. Also, I don't think that the Qatar second red card should have been a red card either. I know the poor guy's leg snapped in half for Canada. I'm not laughing at the guy snapping his leg in half, but I don't think that was a red card. I think you watch the replay and the guy sort of went to get the ball from behind him, tripped over, and as he tripped, look, he's dragged his leg. But he's not done it with any malice. There's no force. He's not off his feet. That probably shouldn't have been a red card. I think you can't just, like, I know the outcome, the injury was bad, but you can't just give a red card because the injury is a leg break, in my opinion. I don't think that, like, I wouldn't give that as a red card. As a challenge, if you take away the consequence of the challenge isn't a red carded challenge.
I mean, you see the referee initially gave it as a yellow card for the challenge, and I think you're right. I think the aftermath and the resulted in to sort of upgrade it on account of the severity. But he's not gone in recklessly or off his feet. It feels like an unfortunate situation rather than a dangerous one.
Yeah, I do have to take my hat off though to the commentators on beIN Sports during the game who were like, oh, we really hope that injury isn't as bad as it looks. How the guy's leg is hanging off. How can it not be as bad as it looks? Were they not watching? You know, like it was obvious. Like, you see the replay of the guy, he's on the floor and he's like, and he looks at his leg and it's like hanging. And then the commentators are like, oh yeah, there's a bad injury. We hope it's not as bad as it looks. How can your leg being in half not be as bad as it looks?
It's very British stiff upper lip style, where you know, like you have like
you might be able to just run it off.
Yeah. Generals during the First World War saying, "Yes, oh, he's copped a bad, and oh, yes, he's met his maker. He's popped the blighter," and he's like, "No, he's dying."
Yeah, I guess. I mean, on that note, talking about red cards, we go to South Africa.
Oh man, they're collecting more red cards than they are goals at the moment. It's
probably the most memed team so far in the world.
I would say so. I mean, Sitaye had the worst opening. Sitole, that's it. Yeah, Sitole had the. I'm very conscious that his name is very close to something else. Which
we can say it, shithole.
Yeah, well, he had one of those on the opening day, giving away a goal and then getting sent off. He can't play again this tournament, surely, to goodness.
It was a funny one. But the irony is with South Africa, after their penalty against Czechia, they're still in it. I mean, we've put as bad as expected, but we've put Czechia as hanging on. I guess South Africa are hanging on. Both teams have got a relative chance in their last game. I mean, South Africa have got Korea, and Korea will need to win that game. So I hold less hope for South Africa, but Czechia could spring something against Mexico. Mexico are qualified. They'll be looking at the next round. They're already top of the group. Maybe they'll play some players to give some minutes. Who knows? Czechia, very physical team, could put some long balls and throws in the box and stuff. So you never know. Never know with Czechia. But I guess if we're on Scotland watch, we'd probably hope that Czechia and South Africa don't win. And then that's
Yeah.
one less group in Scotland to worry about.
Well, I think we shall come on to Scotland because obviously, being English, we famously have a rivalry with Scotland, and I'm not here to rag on them or to kick them when they're down. I did watch the game against Morocco, and I thought Scotland were decent for the first 68 seconds.
No, I'll be honest with Scotland. I think Scotland's got really, really good midfield.
Yes.
I was talking to my dad about this, just about Sweden as well, because Sweden have got an amazing striker, a pair of strikers, but their midfield is useless. And midfield is just useless. The ball comes from the defence. It doesn't really go through the midfield, and they try to get it to the strikers. Although after tonight's game, Sweden, the surprise package is that Sweden even got here.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess we can keep them as a surprise package because you never expected them to win 5-1 and then lose 5-1.
Well, I suppose they're consistent. Both of their games have finished 5-1.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to Scotland, I've got Scotland here in the average category. I don't know. I think with their midfield, they're okay. I put them as average because they should have done better against Haiti. They should have scored more goals.
Yes.
For Scotland to guarantee their next place in the next round, they needed to score 2 or 3 goals against Haiti because they know that they're going to have difficulties getting points against Morocco or Brazil, who, let's be fair, might be 2 of the best 8 teams in the competition.
Yeah,
by the time we come, so you have to get more against Haiti, and I don't think they did enough. But that's because they've got strikers playing for them that struggle to be the best striker in Division 2 or League 2. I mean, you got Lyndon Dykes coming off the bench, Ainsley. You know who Lyndon Dykes plays for?
Do tell.
Plays for Birmingham City.
Well,
he plays for a team managed by Tom Brady.
He's right at home in Boston, then I suppose, which is where they play their games.
Yeah, Lyndon Dykes. I mean,
but yes, you're absolutely right because if you do look at Scotland's midfield, right, Scott McTominay, who was voted the best player in Serie A, John McGinn, who's just been the Europa League captaining Aston Villa. They've got some real
Ferguson, brilliant. He's the captain of, I think he's the captain of Bologna or someone like that. I was really impressed with him as well. I mean, to be honest, after they went down to Morocco, there was about 20 minutes where they looked like they might lose 2 or 3. And then, to be honest, they come back into the game, Scotland. I thought they dominated the midfield. They had really good possession. They made some chances. They just don't have strikers that can put the ball in the net, and that's always going to be a problem for Scotland.
It is when you're chasing after the first minute. They're a Steve Clarke team, by which I mean, because we've seen Steve Clarke manage the likes of West Bromwich Albion and the likes. He's a solid manager who creates solid teams, 5 at the back, hard to break down sort of situations. And when you're chasing Morocco from the first minute, that's going to be tough. I think their plan was to match them and then edge them on maybe set pieces or get a chance or whatever. But it was always going to be very difficult from that point on. It was a silly move because they stepped up to play him offside and they just made the move 1 second too late.
Yeah, which in professional football, 1 second is a lifetime. It's you can't play like that. But I think Scotland have still got a chance. I don't think they'll crumble against Brazil, to be honest. I think they can definitely get something against Brazil. Brazil I've put in here, even after their 3-0 win against Haiti today, they don't look that good. They look quite average to me. I mean, they're not top dog as we would have expected. I wouldn't say they look decent. They were okay against Morocco and they were okay against Haiti. So I don't rate Brazil as hot. I mean, I know we said we could probably see them in the final, and they may well do. They might be scrappy enough. They might have enough about them, of course. But right now, they look a bit average to me.
You kind of hope with Brazil that they'd sort of grow into the tournament as it goes along. They would turn up and realise it's a World Cup and play with the flair and the joy and the attacking verve that we're used to seeing from Brazil sides. But we were quite downbeat on their chances, if only because we didn't think much of their squad. A lot of their players are picked from European leagues, which, okay, they might be stars in Europe, but isn't traditionally where great World Cup squads come from. Brazil, they come from homegrown talents. Ancelotti, being an Italian, he's a winner, but he's generally a defensive-minded manager rather than like the Brazilian way. I think Vinicius Junior's played well, and I think a lot is going to have to come from him if Brazil are going to get anywhere. I don't certainly isn't going to come from Neymar. Let's put it that way.
I think he's a better player than people give him credit for. I like watching him at Man United. I don't particularly like Man United, but I think he's quite a good player. But again, their midfield, they're like Casemiro, Fabinho. Really, you're going to try and win a World Cup with Casemiro and Fabinho as your two midfielders? Like,
it's a weird situation, and I say this as an Englishman with all due respect. And England have been down the years, have had good teams and bad teams, and have had teams full of stars. But I'm not used to looking at England's midfield and thinking, would I swap any of them for Brazil's? And I probably wouldn't.
No. I mean, Lucas Paqueta was a West Ham player, and it was average at best. He had good games for West Ham. Who else is playing in their midfield? I can't even think off the top of my head, but nothing stand out. Nobody's really pushing the envelope for them. So I think Scotland and Brazil we could keep in the average category.
Scotland will certainly put a shift in against Brazil. Let's put it that way. They will turn up and work very hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's two. I mean, if we go along, sort of skipping on now, we've got Ecuador and Belgium in the disappointing category. And then we've got Ivory Coast and Egypt in the average category. They were the two opponents of the other two. Now, Ecuador and Belgium, I've said, have disappointed because I think Ecuador should have beat Ivory Coast and Belgium should have beat Egypt. But at the same time, I've put them both as average because they weren't that good either. Egypt didn't look that good, but Belgium was so disappointing. And Ivory Coast versus Ecuador again was a game we'd like to imagine didn't happen. It was a pretty horrible game to watch. Wasn't really impressed with either. Iran, I was disappointed with Iran, but a few people have actually commented on I posted this, and a few people have said, be fair to Iran, they are having to travel the same day as the game, recover on the plane, and, so I say it's disappointing because I expected them to beat New Zealand and maybe score some goals. They scored 2 goals, but I think we'll be fair to Iran. Maybe we'll have to see what comes. Spain and Portugal. The football they're trying to play is 10 years old. You can't pass the ball into the net anymore. Teams know how to defend against that. You can't just... Portugal were averaging 380 passes per shot.
I mean, I you know how I feel about the passes complete statistic because it means nothing. There was a game the other day, I forget who it was, where they kept, I think it was Scotland actually, where they kept passing it between the full-back and the centre-back and full-back and the centre-back over and over again. And all I can think is, man, their passes complete stat's going to look amazing. But it doesn't go anywhere.
No, I mean, I think Spain were probably a little bit more unfortunate in their result, which is why I've actually put Cabo Verde as the surprise package. I think Cabo Verde had to try harder to get the point from Spain than Congo did against Portugal.
Which is surprising because they had to get a goal.
But they didn't. I mean, Portugal, I think, had 1 shot on goal during that entire game. Spain had. I mean, Cabo Verde's goalkeeper has become a hero overnight. He's gone from like 600 viewers on Instagram to 13 million followers. So, take your hat off to him. 40 years old. It makes me feel like I've still got a World Cup in me yet.
Well, he was proof, right? Because there was a lot of people over in North America who were saying about soccer and how boring it is, all the nil-nil draws, and that just proved how exciting a nil-nil draw could be.
Yeah.
Because everybody, other than if you're supporting Spain, was on the edge of their seat, willing Cape Verde over the line.
Mm. I do think, though, I think obviously Spain are still a good team. And if I'm not wrong, I might be, I don't know, I'd have to check my statistics. I'm sure that the year that Spain won the World Cup, they started with a 0-0 draw against Switzerland.
Well, allow me to correct you slightly. Okay, they did not start with a 0-0 draw with Switzerland. They started with a 1-0 loss against Switzerland.
There you go.
And this has happened previously. Okay, teams have lost or tied or failed to win their opening game and gone on to win the World Cup. England in '66.
Yeah.
That's how long it took me to mention 1966. Tied their opening game 0-0 and went on to win the World Cup. There are plenty of instances of that. I mean, Argentina lost their opening game 1-0 to Saudi Arabia. It doesn't happen as often as not going on to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an ideal start to them, but at the same time, it isn't the be all and end all. There is still a long road ahead for Spain to go deep.
Yeah. And then Portugal, what do we say? I mean, they're a team full of stars, but they're a team that doesn't look like they want to give the ball to their striker.
I tell you what it reminds me of greatly. It reminds me of the 2002 Portugal, who turned up with Rui Costa and Luis Figo, World Player of the Year, and all these amazing stars. And they turned up for 20 minutes a game. And they just languished around because I know we said this before about Portugal being the Ronaldo team, but actually they've got Ruben Neves and Bruno Fernandes. They've got all these really top players, but they all just look very disjointed with each other. When DR Congo scored and equalised, I knew it was a goal before he even headed the ball because it's got to be the freest header I've ever seen in World Cup history. There wasn't a defender within like a mile of him.
It was the freest a black man's ever been in the United States.
Oh my dear Lord! But yeah, he was the only guy off the floor. Was the guy heading it? There was no challenge whatsoever, and they've got
crazy. And then what gets me is everybody's giving shit to Ronaldo. Oh, Ronaldo doesn't do anything. He just stands there. If you compare Portugal with Ronaldo to Argentina with Messi, both Ronaldo and both Messi just stand there and wait for the ball to come to them. The difference is every single player in Argentina wants to give the ball to Messi. They actively work. They move the pitch around. They move the ball around so that they can create the space for him, then give him the ball. It's completely the opposite with Portugal. It's almost like they don't want to give it to Ronaldo. It's almost like they're trying to prove that they can win without him. I watched that game and the amount of times he's trying to make runs, he's cutting back. He's a striker. He's the Haaland of the team. He's not the same player as Messi. He's not the same player he was 10 years ago. He's their striker. You look today, Netherlands put 3 balls in the box and score 3 goals. You know what I mean? The other team, you put the ball in the box, you will give your striker chances. Cristiano Ronaldo, there's no point in him playing if they're not going to put the ball in the box. You know what I mean? And that's not his fault. That's not him being lazy. That's not him being past his best. That's because the way they play football, they just don't want to put the ball in the box for him. So I don't know. I think there'll be a lot of focus on, should Ronaldo play? Should this? Should that? I think a lot of them players in that game had a really bad game, and there's some, and also Martinez is not a good manager. He's not a good manager, Ainsley. I don't care what anybody says. He couldn't handle a Belgium team. All you ever hear about Belgium over their last 2 campaigns was nobody liked each other. Everybody was talking shit about each other. Kevin De Bruyne didn't want to go. All this. You can see the same sort of attitude with Portugal right now. And who's the manager? Roberto Martinez. he's not a good manager. I'm telling you right now, and I think that'll affect Portugal. I don't think they'll go as far as we expected in this tournament because I don't think they're together. I don't think the players are buying into Martinez's tactics. It almost, I know when they had their hydration break, which is another discussion point. I know when they had the hydration break, he was out there and you could see he was gesturing for them to play the ball forward. It was basically saying, get the ball forward, get the ball forward. As soon as they come out from the hydration break, boom, boom, just passing the ball. No intent, passing the ball. It was like it just went straight over their heads, straight in the ear. Or they don't care. They think, I'm not listening to this guy. I've just won the Champions League with PSG, or I've just got third place in the Premier League with Manchester United. Why should we listen to this guy? And that's the problem. They've got 11 players on that pitch playing 11 different styles of football. And it ain't going to work for them, I don't think. So, yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of other teams on the disappointing line there, Uruguay and Croatia. Would you agree?
Well, I'd certainly agree with Uruguay. I mean, they had enough chances in the second half against Saudi Arabia. But again, the way they shipped that first goal, again, you could see it coming a mile off because every Saudi player was jumping on every half chance. That's what a good striker does, right? They jump on the chance before it becomes a chance. Yeah. They're in the space they're waiting for the goalkeeper to cough the ball up or the ball to rush out post. Whereas the Uruguayan defenders almost seemed oblivious that this could even be a thing. What do you mean the goalkeeper might cough it up and I might have to clear it? So their togetherness, as you mentioned just previously about Portugal, sort of felt a bit lacking, certainly during the first half. And it's a game they would have been expecting to win. And now they have to sort of target other games that may not be as easy. Croatia's interesting because they did score 2 goals in the first half.
Yeah.
And the thing is with Croatia, because they are an aging team, we specifically called out that the longer the game goes on, the better England might look against them.
Yeah.
Which is why you should listen to our Patter folks, because sometimes we do know what we're talking about. But so why have they found themselves on the same bracket as Iran and Paraguay?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because you might have expected them to give England a tougher game, and they did score
45 minutes.
They did, but I don't know. I want to agree and disagree. I think they did, but they seemed to just score the 2 chances they had. I don't remember them creating much more than the 2 chances they had. So, you could say they're average. You could say they're maybe. I think I've put them in disappointing because really, when you look at the top 10 teams, if you look at England, France, Argentina, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, Argentina, Brazil, you would probably put Croatia up there. I mean, they were 4th in the last World Cup. They did get to the final of the World Cup before. I enjoy having this discussion now after one game because if we'd have had this discussion after one game in 2022, the end would look completely different to now, which is the interesting point about this. I mean, we've got a decision to make here, Ains, because it's 5 minutes till the start of the Germany game. So I can watch the Germany game a little bit delayed because I've got it on demand. I don't know if you need to watch it live or.
No, it's all good. I can always catch it up. It's all sound. I'm happy to carry on for the benefits of for our viewers. I'm happy to stick it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take too long because I want to be able to post it as one. Maybe keep it to what we're on at the minute. 20. How many minutes we've been going? Not as long as the other ones, so it's fine. But where are we?
In which case, let's go to the top of the tree then, because we've spoken about the teams that are terrible.
I kind of wanted to work my way up, but we can talk about the top because we were talking about Croatia. Let's talk about England. I mean, I have put England as incredible because I didn't expect them. Yes. Nice. I didn't expect England to excite me as much as they did.
England on the front foot are a frightening prospect. Because the thing is, player for player, we mentioned that they have a lot of talent. Harry Kane having the best year of his entire career. The likes of Bellingham, the wonder kid at Madrid. Morgan Rogers is a winner. Declan Rice is a winner. So we thought, okay, can they pull it all together? And okay, the first half, I think the issue was the defence. Like England aren't used to playing as a back three. I don't think anybody could understand why Gay didn't start the game and maybe isn't fully fit, which is a bit of a worry. And that second Croatia goal, I knew was a goal before it even reached their player, just by the way that how disorganised the back line was. But when they came out for that second half, it was like a Ferrari with a new engine in it. You know, they just went. It's weird to say how good the Croatian goalkeeper is, seeing as he chipped in 4 goals, but without him, they could have shipped in double that number.
The first 15 minutes of that second half was England versus Livakovic.
Yeah.
But even the first half, to be honest, I mean, I know. What I love the most about England pundits is England pundits never think the manager has made the right decision unless he plays name for name the best 11 players everybody agrees with in the country. So when he chose to play Stones and he chose to play Madueke, people were like, "Oh, this is a risk. This might not work." Blah blah blah. But Madueke was on fire. Okay, Stones. Look, I understand the Stones decision. He played Stones because Konsa isn't a baller. Konsa's slow in possession. He's a pretty good defender, but he's a sideways defender. Likes to pass between his defence. Stones is more of a progressive defender. He likes to break the lines with his passes. But he didn't do that in this game. He was a little bit, I don't know, maybe his touch was poor. He just had a bad game. Let's be honest. He had a bad game. He wasn't at his best. He wasn't controlling the ball that well. He wasn't getting his head up. So I think it was fair to say, well, that was a bad call, but we can make bad calls. But Madueke, I don't think much of Madueke, to be honest. I think he had a pretty average season, but he played really well.
Well, we mentioned about Tuchel's squad selection beforehand because, as you said, this is a man who isn't afraid to drop names and drop players. So the fact that he picked a team that missed out certain players wasn't maybe that surprising from a guy who didn't take, as you mentioned, the named players that you might expect him to take. But yeah, you were vindicated by your results, and I think he certainly was. It's nice to see England on that incredible level because I think, judging on that second half performance, they deserved to be there.
Yeah, I think it was a game they had to win just to make sure the rest of the group is a smooth run because it gives them a little bit of breathing space now. I mean, Panama. I know last time that England played Panama, they got kicked to death and still scored 6. It's a different Panama team, but I don't see them causing any trouble. And even Ghana beat Panama, but they were not very impressive at all. I wouldn't be, as an England fan, as an England team, wouldn't be very worried about either. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to win both games. You know how England are. There's always a chance of a slip up here or there. So
if England can beat Ghana, the one you have to then watch out for is the last game because much like Mexico, you've already qualified. So do you rest players? Are they going to be less motivated, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, but I think it'll be safe. England will finish top of the group, which is good for them. And then we got the USA Ains.
Yes, the USA are the teams that have impressed me the most this tournament, I must say, because I gave them so much guff during this build-up. You've got a coach that doesn't want to be there. You've got a team that's had poor performances in friendlies. Their CONCACAF Gold Cup run was disappointing, and they've looked like a team possessed. They've come out with this verve and energy, and there's like they're feeding off the home crowd. It's been magical. It's been magical to watch the USA play.
It hasn't, and even was it today or yesterday when they played Australia,
I mean, the second half, Australia made it difficult for them. Australia did what we know Australia do. They made it physical. They got in their faces. They gave them a fight. But the fact that they had beat them in the first 30 minutes of the game, you know what I mean? That's impressive in itself. And it's impressive in itself that they managed to keep a clean sheet. Apparently, that was their first clean sheet in 16 matches or something like that.
Another problem that we brought up during our thing on
Yeah.
qualifying is that they always seem to concede. Australia had chances, certainly had chances second half.
Yeah.
They just didn't really finish them that well. But yeah,
No.
the USA have given the home countries and say with Mexico and Canada, right? You want to see the home countries do well because it means you see more energy into the tournament, more excitement around it, packed stadiums. You know, it's good to see from a neutral.
Yeah, I mean, I think the three teams we talked about, the three hosts, all in different. Say they're playing three different styles of football. US are just impressive all over. My only worry for the US is the pace in their defence is something they might encounter a little bit later in the tournament. Tim Ream and the other centre back, they might struggle with the pace of other teams. But the way their midfield plays, the way their wing backs play, their strikers, they're a very, very high energy, high intensity, quality football team. The quality with the way they move the ball, the passing triangles, the progression up the pitch is very, very impressive. Mexico are more like they're played very professional, should we say. You know,
it's strange because I would expect Mexico and the USA to be the opposite way around in their styles.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Mexico are going to be the team that are going to be very, very, very difficult to beat in this tournament. They could be a tournament. They could be a team that could go to a semi-final by getting penalties in a quarter-final or by winning a 1-0 the way they did against Korea. And I mean, I've put Korea next to Mexico because Korea had a great comeback against Czechia. And they played really well against Mexico, but Mexico held them out. And it was a strange one to say that Korea played really well. Mexico held them out, but Mexico looked relatively comfortable holding Korea out, while Korea looked impressive trying to get the goal.
It's a World Cup that's been played at an impressive tempo. Like we haven't, we went into this, a lot of people worried about the heat and maybe it's sap energy, but there's been a lot of high energy games, and I think that was one of them. Mexico's home record will definitely be what they hang their hat on. In competitive internationals, they have not been beaten. I think they've lost 2 out of 86 games at home in competitive fixtures. Which, you know, considering they'll be playing their games in Mexico City, is that's something that they could take some real confidence from, I think.
Yeah, because I think now they've finished top of the group. They've got their run until the quarterfinals would be at home, I believe. So that's big for them. I mean, Canada are something different. I mean, they had an amazing victory against Qatar. 6-0 was great for them, really good for their confidence. I still think they're a messy team. They're a scrappy team. They look like the sort of team, maybe Sweden type. If they come up against an opponent that puts them under pressure, they could be the team losing 5-1. I don't know. I think Jesse Marsh has made them a very emotional team. And I think they'll ride that until it goes the other way. That's my only worry for Canada, is that they're so emotional right now that they're riding this positive, we're so positive, we're going to fight for each other. And the moment that switches, it could affect them negatively. So
I think when Canada eventually go out, they'll go out in like a big blaze of glory. Like you say, they'll lose like 5-1 and it'll be raining. And
the players
about this in a year's time,
Yeah.
Red tears, maple tears.
But I think it's nice to see all three looking good. I mean, all three are now through to the next round, which is good. And all three would probably get favourable opponents. So it looks like we could have all three hosts in the last 16, which would be good. Are you watching the Germany game, by the way?
Yeah, it's literally on just behind me. I'm keeping tabs on it.
don't say anything because I'll catch up with it. So if you see something happen, don't say because I'll catch up. Because here, if I can just press, I can start the game from the start, so I can watch
no
it.
spoilers. This is a spoiler-free review.
Yeah. And then I can
will try my
skip
best
the
not to ruin it.
hydration breaks. So by the time I get to the end of the match, I'll have caught up.
I should have had a bottle of water by the side of me to have a hydration break during
Oh,
this.
we should have had a 3-minute hydration break and played some commercials.
I will tell you to be straight though, a team that has disappointed me, like because we talk about Spain and Portugal, because we expected them to win. It's Bosnia. Bosnia is a team that I know they qualified through the playoff system, beating Wales and Italy, but they beat them both away. Like I know they went on penalties, and they did it by being a team that didn't give up until the end. And this was like the opposite so far. Like they couldn't see out against Canada. They were about 75 minutes into Switzerland and then just capitulated there. I kind of wonder where the team that was able to sort of keep battling to the end, sort of where have they gone really?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with Bosnia is they've got to play Qatar next. So we will see them in the last 32. I mean, we're going to see either Qatar or Bosnia in the last 32, unless they draw, which would be the best result for the entire tournament because it would get rid of both of them.
Yes.
But if one of them teams wins, they're on 4 points and they will be definitely through to the last 32. So I've put Bosnia in the hanging on category.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
They did capitulate against Switzerland, but it was only because they had that red card late on. And at that point, I think it was 2-0, and they did have a couple of chances. So
they did score a goal. And to be fair,
it was the Bosnia volley. It was the Bosnia volley that was the good volley, not Uzbekistan. It was Bosnia.
First touch of the game comes off the bench, first World Cup. What I loved about it is when he came on, he put his hands on his hips and went, like, what do you want me to do? And his first touch, he scores a volley like that. So, yeah, play him from the start next time, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but they've still got a chance. I mean, just a quick talk about Jordan, Iraq, and Uzbekistan. They're the three Asian teams that didn't do so well in the first round. I was impressed with their endeavour, all three of them. I thought all three of them didn't allow themselves to get battered. They all scored a goal, which was good for them. And they all, at one point in the game, were in the game. All three of their matches were 2-1 at some point. And it showed that Jordan, Iraq, and Uzbekistan all went to try and get that second goal, and in doing so conceded the third, and in Iraq's case, a fourth. So yeah. I think good on them. They've come to their World Cup. They've given it a go. They might, all three of them might have a chance of picking up a point or three. So I don't think they're completely out of it.
Iraq battled with Norway for a lot of that first. They came to play football, Iraq did. Yeah. I will give them their dues on that. Which brings me to Norway. It's the only placing on your little ranking that I disagree with is Norway, because Norway is sitting under the surprise package, despite the fact that we raved about them going into this, saying that this is a team that could top the group in with France. You know, that they could go deep. Didn't we have them beating Brazil in our predictions as well? So
we did. Yeah, we did.
Really surprising that they've won 4-1 against Iraq, is it?
It's not a surprise, but if you look at the expected top dogs, France, Argentina, Germany, they're the three. They are the big World Cup winners. Yeah, they're the big World Cup winners. France, you expect them. Argentina, you expect them, and Germany, you expect all three of them teams to win comfortably their first game. They did. Norway, you did expect from them, but they're not like, if you were to put, really, in this expected top dog tier, you should also have Spain and Brazil, maybe. But they weren't as good as they should have been in their first game. That really, the expected top dog would be Spain, Portugal, England, Brazil, because they're your most highly rated teams in the tournament. And then your next best teams like your Japan, your Norway, your USA are what you would consider as a surprise package. Maybe not for us, but for majority of the people, you would say, okay, if Norway were to get to the last 8, a lot of people will go, oh, Norway. Maybe not so much because of Haaland, but they need more than Haaland if they're going to go a long way in the tournament.
They certainly do, and I think, to be fair, I do think they have more than Haaland. It's just Haaland is the focal point, and with good reason. He's an incredible striker, an amazing. He's like, I think he's like the Brock Lesnar of football, like, because he's such a physical player. It's almost like you can't. What do I do against this force of nature?
Yeah, there was also some good memes for Haaland. There was one of him chasing down an Iraqi defender, and it were like the caption was "Viking chases down Mesopotamian soldier, 1506."
Well, if you saw Norway's build-up, they took the 3 best team photos that have ever been taken in the history of the tournament.
Yeah, they're taking this World Cup seriously from a marketing point of view as well as they are on the pitch. But I mean, they're good. They're a good team. I think I like the way they play. They have Sorloth, who is also an out-and-out target man striker, and they've just thought, you know what? We've got 2 really good world-class strikers. Let's just play them and get the ball to them and see what can happen. Sweden have tried something similar, but Sweden's midfield isn't as good as Norway's midfield. Norway have got Odegaard. They've got a few other players that can really, impress in those positions. So I think Sweden and Norway try to play the same, but Norway have got a little bit more about them in the midfield, and they've probably got better form going into the World Cup and a better confidence than Sweden. Probably a better manager as well, if we're being honest. Graham Potter. Yeah. I mean, who haven't we spoke about, Ains?
Well,
Swiss?
I suppose the looking decent category, the 2 on the end, Austria and Colombia, are 2 we haven't really focused on a great deal yet. I would absolutely I think they feel just right where they are, where you've placed them, where a decent team that have got victories but haven't really stepped it up to make you think, oh yeah, they're one to watch.
Yeah, I think both of them scored 3 goals, and both of them did what they needed to do against resilient Asian competition. I think both of these teams, Austria and Colombia, will give anybody in this tournament a good game. I think that's what you would expect from either of these 2 teams, is that they're teams that possess energy, flair, something different about them. Austria, when I started watching the game, I thought, oh, maybe this isn't the Austria I remembered from the last Euros, when they were like super aggressive, super intense. But then as the game went on, they kind of showed that dominance. And Colombia, the same, started slow, but the more they got into the game, they showed some real quality. I know the last Colombia goal was one of the best pieces of crossing I've ever seen. It was such a good goal. Such a good goal. And it's also some of the teams. I mean, Netherlands look decent. Now, I think actually
tonight they do.
Yeah, I think they're probably better than decent. I'd put looks decent because they couldn't finish off Japan. But maybe the fact of how comfortable Netherlands were tonight against Sweden shows how good Japan are.
Well, Japan absolutely flew through qualifying. They were an awesome force in qualifying. They scored 26 goals, crying out loud. And so they're a very professional outfit, Japan are. And they've had surprise in the last few tournaments against the likes of Germany and Spain, and they've proved that they're not afraid to take teams. It's like the Japanese samurai spirit, I suppose. The one thing I did want to know about Japan is, as a football coach, will you be adopting the writing giant numbers on a whiteboard and holding it up for your players' system that we saw employed in that game?
No, But have you seen how the Japanese coach has become a meme
Yes.
because of his notebook?
Yes.
So we were watching the Japan game, and and Suha was like, "What a nerd! He's there in his outfit with his Japan notebook, writing notes." Now you see my picture in the background, which is me as a coach. I coach for RIT University. I have an RIT University notebook, which during that whole game I'm writing notes in. And I just looked at her, and she looked at me, and she was like, "Oh, you're a nerd as well." I was like, "Yeah." So I could also be the Japanese meme coach.
I unironically love his attention to detail. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and he's so committed to the strategy and to the bit and the effort. And he had tears in his eyes when the national anthem was playing. This is a man who, like you say about Jesse Marsh being an emotional man, but I think this is emotion in the right way. It's emotion, but like has so much control.
It's
over-
focused.
Yes.
Yeah. It's emotion with like Jesse Marsh's way of he realizes that Canada are a team that, I mean, he often describes his team as imperfect, which is fair. They're an imperfect, and when you have an imperfect team, you have to ride luck, you have to ride emotion, you have to ride the 50-50s. Whereas Japan are a different type of team. They're a team that has quality. They're a team that has organization. They're a team that strives a lot to be very organized and resilient and less emotional in a way. You know, you don't see the Japanese players losing their focus. You don't see them losing their discipline. Something that they used to get from Korea. But Korea now, I think, because a lot of their players play in Europe, because a lot of their players are becoming superstars, you do see a little bit of petulance now and then from the Korea players. You do see them fighting with the opponents. They are a little bit more. They're less. You never see Japanese players arguing with the referee, or arguing with the opposition, or looking upset when they get substituted. The Korea players have started to, you see every time Sun comes off, he's arguing on, and when they got the players in the midfield are always arguing with the referee. It used to be Japan and Korea were the very, very, the very respectful teams. But I think Japan still have that. Korea not anymore. Korea are a bit more
South Korea have come a bit more westernized for the worst.
They're a bit more K-pop, I think.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you speak about teams not acting in the way that they're supposed to, like because we mentioned about Brazil not having that kind of same sort of samba energy. I tell you, who did surprise me was Scotland. The amount of diving I saw from the Scotland team.
I'm not surprised, and I tell you why. I played football with a lot of Scots, and they're some of the horriblest people to play football with because, and I'll be honest, Scottish people are usually ballers. When you play football with Scots, they're quite difficult people to play football against because they're quite tough. They're quite good on the ball. They're quite good at protecting the ball. They are everything that you pretty much see in this Scotland team now. They're sort of play like your John McGinns, your McTominays. When you play football with Scots, you kind of get that kind of vibe. But also, they don't mind a good dive, a good shirt pull, a good shout at the referee. They're very good at that. They are very, very good at that.
You see, I wasn't surprised at, maybe it's because of the Scotland players that I was aware of growing up. Players like Graham Souness, who would fight every man in the crowd by himself, sort of thing. It's the whole hard nut thing about, you stand up, you're tough. I've heard a lot of Scottish football fans and English football fans, to be fair, say that they hate diving, hate how sissy the game is these days. You've got to be tough. Ref should just let them get on with it. And then I watched the game against Morocco, and the Scottish players are diving all over the place and then whinging at the ref that he's letting it go, which is exactly what people have been complaining about for years. So I was a bit surprised at that, really.
But what I would say is about Scotland is they're a team that know they have to get the edge in every moment possible. And if that means a good dive here or there, or a good shirt pull, or a good, I wouldn't say this with great conviction, but I would say that a lot of those Scottish players are intelligent footballers.
Yes.
And the reason I would say that is because actually I don't know whether this is a statistic or there is a statistic of this. We'd maybe have to do some research, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, 5 of Scotland's starters are captains for their club teams, which shows that they have a lot of intelligence and leadership within that team.
Well, that's something that I do expect from Scottish football, because not only has there been great Scottish captains down the years, but a lot of Scottish managers have been very, very successful. So they have a great footballing intelligence about them. They do need better strikers. You're absolutely right. So having discussed previously who we think is going to get where, is anybody now? Have you changed it? Like, is anybody going to go deep in this tournament that you didn't expect to, or is anybody going to fail maybe to get? Are we still putting Spain as finalists after their Cape Verde debacle?
Yes, I'm going to stick with Spain because I think, like we said earlier, they lost their first game against Switzerland and won the World Cup. Argentina lost their first game and won the World Cup. Spain, I think once Spain score a goal, they'll be fine. I think Netherlands, we were quite hopeful for Netherlands. I think we could see Netherlands go quite far.
I agree.
Obviously, we expect England to get to the final. I think we had discussed the possibility of USA getting to a quarter final.
Yes.
So I think we could see USA in the last 8. I still believe
that's possible.
I still believe France, Germany, and Argentina will be real semi-final contenders. I don't see any of them. I hope somebody knocks Argentina out, because I don't think they're that good.
It might have to be England.
Might be. It might have to be Portugal.
That would be an amazing game. I'm staying up for that one, no matter what time it's on.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see somebody knock Argentina out because, honestly, I don't think they're that good. I think beyond Messi, they're an organised team. They're a team that will fight. But even in the last World Cup, they had to win 2 of the games on penalty shootouts. They're not. Somebody can knock them out. Let's put it that way. Somebody can step onto Argentina and knock them out of the tournament. It might be harder to do that against France, England. I think France and England are going to be harder to knock out of the tournament than Argentina are. Probably Spain as well. Spain didn't beat Cabo Verde, but it's going to be difficult to knock Spain out of the tournament.
Yeah, to beat them might be tricky.
Yeah. I think Germany were really smooth against Curacao. They were a bit lazy at the start, but then they turned it on. You're obviously seeing it now. Well, let's see how they get on tonight against the slightly...
I was going to say, tonight's more of their proof of concept, because the way we worked out the groups, Germany would hit France quite quick. I think it's the last 16, Germany would meet France. And we need to see what kind of Germany makes it there. Because obviously they went out to the Euros to Spain 2 years ago, and it wasn't a bad-looking Germany team. But Spain were obviously a cut above kind of everybody, really. So can this Germany team now step up a gear and beat a French side and then possibly a Spanish side? Because if they can do that, then they are contenders for the whole thing. In fact, they might even be favourites if they can get through that. If Brazil
I agree.
don't win their group, which is a possibility with Morocco nipping at their heels, Brazil end up on that side of the draw as well.
Well, do you know, there's going to be a very interesting next round. And this is something, I think the draw has been very unfortunate because either Netherlands or Japan are going to play Morocco or Brazil in the next round.
But
so,
it's a neutral, it's an amazing match, right? It's unfortunate for those teams to meet so early, but in the World Cup, you've got to beat these teams.
Yeah, but it means that 2 of these teams, Japan, Brazil, Morocco, or Netherlands, 2 of these teams are going to be out in the last 32. And that's 2 very strong teams out of the next round, which leaves space for somebody else. Because really, if you were going to look at the last 16, you would probably say Brazil, Morocco, Netherlands, and Japan are good enough to be in the last 16. So it leaves 2 spaces there.
You would, but at the same time, this is what the World Cup is about, right?
The draw,
the World Cup is about the big games against the big opponents on the big stage. And yes, you would like it to be a quarter final or a semi final rather than a second round match. But teams get drawn against each other in the group stage sometimes. That'd be like
Yeah.
England in 2014 with Italy and Uruguay in the same group, and then Costa Rica tops the group above all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Brazil Netherlands in the next round.
That would be tasty.
Yeah, and how unfortunate. I mean, I say how unfortunate. Netherlands would win their group and end up against Brazil.
Yeah, but at the same time, the way Brazil are, you wouldn't
Yeah,
put
I don't
Netherlands
think
down to beat
No.
them, would you?
no, nobody's going to be scared about playing Brazil. I don't think. But Morocco's an interesting one because I thought that Morocco were overhyped for this tournament. I personally thought before this tournament started that I thought they got to the semi-finals of the last tournament. They were lucky. They got through some penalty shootouts. They were a tough team to beat. But actually watching them in their first two games, they haven't been ultra impressive. But I can see why people think they could reach the semi-final again. Their striker has surprised me a lot. The two finishes, the two goals
Yes.
against Brazil and Scotland. Whew,
Yeah,
like,
you don't want him to let him get a shot away.
amazing goals, absolutely amazing, and they are solid. They are a very solid team. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one there. I mean, when we're looking at who's going to go far, we know that one of Morocco, Netherlands, or Brazil, who everybody would easily say could be a quarterfinal team, is going to be gone in the last 32. So that'll be interesting.
But the survivors of those matches will then obviously jump up the rankings of these could be potential semi-final, these could be potential finalists, kind of thing.
Yeah. Is there anybody that jumps out of that you think could maybe get to a? I mean, without looking at the draw, we don't see the draw here, so we're just sort of saying it based on what we've seen. Is there anybody in there, maybe one of the surprise package teams, one of the looks decent teams that you think might actually go further than we thought?
Well, immediately, the team that jumps out that might actually do something is Cape Verde, because they've got a point against they've already slayed the dragon. They've already got past the one game that everyone said you're getting nothing. So why could they not get something out of either of the others? Like you said, 4 points should definitely see you through. Could you say with absolute certainty that Cape Verde could not get a victory in those last two games?
No, for sure. And the other two, who's the other two teams in that group?
I believe it's Uruguay and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, Cabo Verde could easily beat Saudi Arabia.
There
but
you go.
Equally, Saudi Arabia could beat Cabo Verde. Could Saudi be a surprise? They didn't.
You could replace it the other way around. Yeah, Saudi Arabia. They're then through, aren't they?
Yeah, I think both of them getting a draw in their first match opens up a possibility of one of these teams getting a really good opportunity in the next round. So that's something to look at. New Zealand as well. Their draw against Iran was because honestly, Belgium and Egypt were not that impressive.
No, this group is now wide open.
Yeah. It's a really good opportunity for New Zealand. I mean, again, Belgium have got European quality that doesn't always show, but it probably can on any given day. They could turn up one day, Belgium, and just string everything together and beat a team 3 or 4-0 like the Netherlands did today. And Egypt are, they're an African powerhouse. So you could, and even Iran, you can't write Iran out yet. Iran's still got a lot to prove. Iran could come up against a Belgium and pull out a gritty 1-0 or, the same against Egypt. They've got a lot of grit and determination of Iran, and they can score goals. So, and I think, that'll be an interesting group. What are your thoughts on Australia?
Australia are a team that have a lot of heart and soul. They're like this country itself, right? The joy and the effort beating Turkey was like it was like almost like a massive effort to get them over the line, like a relief as much as it was a performance. But I think going into the match against the USA, they were heavily underdogs because of the way the USA have performed, and you've kind of got to feel like if they're, I don't know, they had chances in the second half, but they didn't take them, which means it worries me about the clinical finishing. And if your strikers aren't being clinical, what you have to then rely on is your defense to be consistent and solid and sort of be difficult to break down. And I don't get that from them. So they need to be more, I don't know, they either need to be better up front or tighter at the back, basically. Pick, pick preferably both, but they need to pick one to work on, because if you can't keep a clean sheet, you need to be scoring more goals.
The coach realised he made some tactical errors when he changed it in the second half, and I think that will be a learning. I think that will be learning for him. I think my only worry is that the teams that are sitting back, the Saudis, the Australias, the Cabo Verdes, the teams that have sort of got to where they are in the first round by being defensive, getting that result, I don't think that will last long in this tournament. And do you know why? Because look at what happened to Qatar. Qatar did that in their first game, got a point, got demolished in the second game. Bosnia did that in their first game, got demolished in the second game. It's not really worked for the teams that have sat back. They might get one good result doing that, but I don't think it's going to see them far enough in the tournament. I think for teams to go far in this tournament, they have to be teams that are willing to take a little bit of a risk, which is why maybe Canada, Japan, USA, these sort of teams, Austria maybe, they might be the teams that surprise us a little bit because they're willing to take a risk. And when you take a risk, it gives you a chance at the same time. The less risks you take, the more you're just hoping that the other team can't find a way through. And I think that runs out at a World Cup. Unless you're Morocco or unless you're Greece in the 2004 European Championships.
Greece might be the outlier because they actually did win the Euros, but at the same time, they scored goals in every single game.
They did.
Shootouts. It was not like there was no kind of lottery element. They just beat the teams they were up against on the day. Even Spain in 2010, they beat everyone 1-0, but they still beat them.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I plugged myself in. I mean, I guess we've sort of spoke about everybody. I think we'll probably try and catch up again after the second round of matches. What do you reckon? Maybe at the end of the week, Friday or Thursday, something like that.
I'm happy to keep sort of giving our thoughts as progression, because of course this is an unfolding story. Drama and heroes and villains happen all the time. The only things I want to say is, before we get to that point, quick predictions first of all. Will New Zealand get out the group? Yes or no?
No.
Ooh. Will Sweden get out of their group? Yes or no?
Yes.
I'm surprised at hearing that. You need a result against Japan. Fair enough. Who will be your top goal scorer at this World Cup?
Harry Kane.
I hope so. And who have got the best fans at the World Cup so far? You see, I'm going to give my best fans to the 10 DR Congo fans that were in Lisbon, because I don't know if you saw the image, but when DR Congo scored, they went to Lisbon Square, and it's just all this sea of red, and 10 Congo fans jumped up, started dancing around, and it was amazing to watch.
It's the Germany game. We'll catch up in a few days. Good chat, Ains. Speak soon.
Always a pleasure.